So if you keep up with Nintendo news, rumors, or leaks online at all, you are probably very familiar with the rumor that Metroid Prime in some way, shape, or form should be headed to the Nintendo Switch at some point in time, as originally it was predicted to be the HD trilogy remaster that we saw released originally on the Wii, ported to the Switch with just an HD visual upgrades, and more recent leaks have suggested that Metroid Prime 1 will indeed be getting its own standalone remake in the year of 2022, and in today's video, I want to walk down memory lane with you all, boot up Metroid Prime together for the first time in years for me, and actually share my opinions on when I think we can see this game launch on Nintendo Switch and whether or not we will indeed see it make it to the Switch in the year of 2022. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, today we are booting up Metroid Prime together, and for me personally, it has been since the trilogy was released on the Wii since I went back to play through these games, and gosh, that's been over 10 or I don't know, 10 to 12 years, something like that now, since I've actually played through these games, and I cannot wait to replay them personally, as if you know anything about me, you know that Zelda, Metroid, and then of course Dark Souls, which is not prominent on Nintendo platforms, but they are my three favorite franchises of all time, hands down, definitively, and I've been waiting this entire time to not replay these games in hopes that we would get them brought over to the Nintendo Switch, and I'm excited to play through some of this game together with you all, share my initial impressions of how the game has aged. Of course, I will be upscaling it through emulation, as I do own the original GameCube copy, but I wanted to go ahead and boot up, on the PC here with a wireless Power A GameCube controller, which is a really quality experience, and enjoy it in a more current resolution, like we will probably see it launch on in the Switch. But before we talk too much more on the title screen, let's hop into the gameplay together. So if you were somebody who wasn't originally around in 2002 to play Metroid Prime for the first time when it launched on the Nintendo GameCube, you might not fully appreciate how ahead of its time this game was in terms of graphical fidelity. Oh, of course, we have inverted controls here. Now, a nice thing, because if you guys have seen any of my other gameplay videos, you will know I cannot stand inverted controls, but you know what's great about this in the GameCube in 2002 is they gave us the option to turn it off, and this is how we aim, with up being up and down being down. People who like inverted controls, I will never understand you. I'm sorry, it's just not something that I can get myself accustomed to. But yes, as I was mentioning, this game is, in terms of its graphical style, and obviously we're using, some upscaled resolutions here and things to make it look even better, but this game came out in 2002 on the Nintendo GameCube, which really was Nintendo's last console that they actually made a big push for graphical power. Like, the GameCube was as strong, if not stronger, than the PS2, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Xbox was technically graphically the most powerful of that generation, but you had some of the best games and the best looking games running on the GameCube, no problem, and Retro Studios absolutely took their time with Prime 1 and just made it look incredible, which is why you could almost argue, like, after 20 years of this game aging, especially just throwing it like in an HD resolution with like literally almost nothing else done to the visuals, it almost looks good enough just to bring it over. Like, I'll be really surprised to see if Nintendo changes very much of this game at all. Like, there's some loading stuff here. If you notice, one of the tactics that they used to use is you would shoot the door and it would start to load the next room. So sometimes if the doors don't open right away, it's actually because it's loading the next room. But, as I mentioned, it's such a good looking game already that you really wouldn't have to do much just to bring it over to the Switch. Now, if you don't know much about the Metroid series, you may not know, you a lot of times start off with like all your power-ups and things. As I got the missiles, I got a bunch of my charge beam, and I have my morph ball bombs and all that kind of stuff. And a common theme is that you actually always lose your powers at the beginning of the game. I got to do this with my charge beam here. Sometimes you get to play as Samus for a minute with her powers like we do in this game, and other times you get a little preview of what it feels like, and other times they make you just see it in a cutscene that you essentially, like in Dread, where you start off without your powers, but you saw what happened to Samus when she landed, because of course you get attacked right out of the gate. So now we're about to unlock the map system for the first time. This is, like, I think the perfect mix of now the map, to be fair, is a little bit janky whenever you actually look at it, because it's like a 3D wireframe and you can get very easily turned around on where you're actually supposed to be, and you might be looking at it upside down and not realize it. So that is one of my complaints, and I'm sure they'll probably fix that in a remake or remaster, whatever we see make it over to the Nintendo Switch. But you know, it has that exploration that Zelda offers in terms of like finding a map and then trying to figure out where you're supposed to go. It has some backtracking that some people aren't a fan of as much, but to be honest with you, it never feels excessive, and I kind of like having to remember to try to come back to different places after you've you know, gotten a new ability, you saw an upgrade, a missile upgrade somewhere that you need to remember to come back to. And hopefully they have like a marker system on the map on a remaster as well, because that would definitely help out a lot. I don't believe that that's in this game, but I could be wrong, because as I mentioned, it's just been so long since I played Metroid Prime. It's kind of crazy to me, because I mean, I 100% of this game multiple times over as a kid, and it was just so much fun through and through. And it's kind of weird to think how long it's been since I've went back and played this classic, but it's because, you know, I've really been holding out hope that they would do it now, or bring it over to a current platform. Now, another talking point here is that, of course, we have, here was some space pirates here. Of course, we have lock-on targeting with L, and then in order to actually, because the GameCube did have technically a second analog with the C stick, but they didn't use that. Instead, they used the R mechanic. So whenever I press and hold the R button here is when I'll actually be able to freely aim up or down. And then, you know, the Z targeting for lock-on enemies works just fine. I would be curious if they keep that mechanic or if they change it to a dual analog system like most people in a first-person shooter era are used to now. And what the interesting thing is I'm sure there's a large percentage of people who, you know, maybe wouldn't like this control layout, but it never bothered me, and it still doesn't really bother me now. Like, you can quickly adapt to just stopping and pressing R to go ahead and shoot. Now, if you were somebody who played this on the Wii version that of course came out later on, they did go back and change that control scheme, as obviously the Wii is motion only controls, and they used motion controls. Let's see, I think if I scan this boss, this may actually trigger the boss fight. Or maybe it's this one here, but so they did actually go ahead and change that to motion. Now, this may be an unpopular opinion, I don't really know. I mean, you guys should know me by now that I'm not the biggest fan of motion controls, but Prime 3 Corruption was probably my least favorite title because of motion being the only way to play it. And then when they did the trilogy remaster, or just the trilogy ported over to the Switch, or to the Wii rather, I was very highly disappointed that you know, motion was the only way to play that, and you couldn't, you know, plug in your GameCube controller, which the Wii did actually have GameCube ports. You know, I wanted to be able to play them both, and I hope that that's what they do this time around, because I'm sure there's people who, you know, obviously grew up in the Wii era playing these games that did, you know, have nostalgia or prefer the motion controller, which is a cool thing for a while. I just don't want to only point and aim and stuff like that for a Metroid Prime game. Like, I definitely like the feel of the traditional controllers here, or the traditional controls rather. And another interesting thing is just like your overall upgrade path in Metroid games, and it's done very well in Prime. You always feel like you're getting stronger consistently, and I love that. You're getting, you know, new suits, new abilities, new types of charge beams. Like it's literally the Metroid formula that if you play Dread, it's literally that same formula. Like, not much has changed, but this is in a first-person 3D, you know, 3D first-person shooter type of format, and I just think it worked incredibly well, which is why these are fan classics. And it's almost hard for me to believe that this is the 20th year anniversary of Metroid Prime. Like, it does not seem like it was that far back in the past that this game released, but of course it was. So I'll probably edit through some of this so I can at least show you guys, like, you know, after I lose my power-ups, and show you just a little bit of the beginning portion of the gameplay and things, because we're going to have a pretty exciting moment here in a moment. So I will probably come back here just as we get a little bit further, maybe show you guys the boss fight as well. We'll see how everything goes. All right, so we're going to see if we can take out this boss without too many complications. As I mentioned, it has been quite a while since I played Metroid Prime, but see, I love this too. You're locked on, and you have like a little quick like dodge ability with your B button there. Everything, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Everything feels extremely fluid, extremely responsive. Boss fights in Metroid, another thing, Metroid Prime rather, incredible. Like, by far and away some of the best boss fights in any kind of 3D Metroid game. I have so much nostalgia for Prime 1 as opposed to Prime 2 Echoes and Prime 3 Corruption. I already said why I didn't like Prime 3 Corruption as much, mainly the motion thing going on there. I liked Echoes, but it didn't hook me. I mean, it did hook me. It didn't make me want to go back and replay it like the way that I want to boot up Metroid Prime any chance I get. Like, that was kind of my whole thing, is like, this one's just definitively the best out of the trilogy, which is why I'm not gonna, like, I mean, I will be upset if we don't get all of them released on the Switch. Okay, I messed this up pretty good. I won't be too I get why they're gonna maybe just do a Metroid Prime 1 remake. I want all 3 of them to come, believe me. Like, and I would obviously much rather pay $60 for a 3 Prime game collection than, you know, pay $60 a piece. But at the same time, if they change enough stuff and they do Metroid Prime 1 remake right, or remaster, like, we don't really know if it's a remake or remaster, like whether or not they do brand new textures or if they just upscale and touch up their old textures. That's what we're gonna have to wait and see. But regardless, I think that this is the one that they have to focus on the most, at least for me. And I know that you know, not everybody will agree with that sentiment, most likely, but that's what it is for me. And then, of course, another classic, you know, Metroid series moment here is having essentially an escape path where you have a timed escape to get out of here before everything just blows up. Like, this whole space station, if I'm not mistaken, is going to blow up. So that's always fun too. The music is intense, your heart's racing. It's like, you know, this is just quality Metroid through and through, and it really worked. The way that Retro pulled off these Prime, all 3 of the Prime games, is just incredible in my opinion, and just super enjoyable through and through. We got our little health recharge there. I really look forward to, like, I mean, I'm not going to finish this game on this playthrough because I am truly trying to save it, and hopefully, you know, the February Nintendo Direct, or if not then, at least by E3, we get the official announcement. Like, I definitely am a believer of the rumors and leaks that this game is going to come over. It just kind of has to, because if you think about it, why are they, like, Prime 4 is obviously a huge deal to Nintendo. They legitimately scrapped the project when they weren't happy with the direction that another studio was developing it. Took it in a different direction than they wanted it to go. They scrapped like 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, like 2 years worth of work to completely restart it and give it back to Retro Studios. And, you know, I think that says a lot about what they want for the future of the Prime franchise as a whole. And I think you got to kind of give players what made the Prime series so special to begin with first, you know? So I think I can get through here a little bit faster if I actually go in my Morph Ball. Oh, unless if I don't think you can't. Can I not hop in the Morph Ball? If I can hop, I'm definitely screwing it up, so oh well. But yeah, so it's one of those things, you know, I have so much nostalgia for these games. I definitely think Nintendo cares about it as well. Dread is selling good. I think that a 3D Metroid on the Switch will absolutely sell better. These things are incredibly annoying, how they get all over your visor and then you can't see anything. You know, I just think that it's just going to work, and it's exciting time again to be a Metroid fan. You know, we've obviously seen Nintendo skip entire console generations without doing a Metroid game, like such as the N64. I mean, there's no Metroid game at all, and then we see, you know, years go by, few and far between, without, you know, many Metroid releases. So right now that Metroid's back in kind of the mainstream, and it won that best action adventure game at the Game Awards, and you know, you had Doug Bowser going up and giving his somewhat awkward speech, but still a speech nonetheless, that, you know, Samus is back in action. You know, she's back in front and center in Nintendo's mind, in my opinion, and I just can't wait for the future of the games. But we'll probably skip forward one more time here so you guys can see a little bit of the world outside of the space station before we wrap it up. Now here we have our first look at Talon Overworld, and you guys may have actually seen recently there was a fan-made project that went somewhat viral, I guess you could say, or it definitely got quite a few views, but somebody recreated this area in like Unreal Engine 4, and it just looks so beautiful. And that's what, you know, I mean, I know we're not going to get that level of graphical fidelity from the Switch, but that's what I hope Nintendo does more of, is actually just, you know, slows down, brushes up the textures from the ground up, even though, like I mentioned, this game still looks beautiful, especially considering it's 20 years old. But, you know, I just think that this is the one that makes the most sense to bring over to the Switch and give it all the love it deserves. A true fan classic. We definitely we already lost our abilities and things, as far as like we have no double jump, we have no charge beam, so we were back to like basic Samus right here. But you know, it's one of those things. Oh, and I will say the one thing I have noticed now that I didn't remember really sticking out to me as a kid when I was playing it, is that now that I am so used to being in a 2 analog world with the controls and things, the one thing that I notice is whenever you're running forward and you kind of need to turn in like a small crevice or a small corner or something like that, you do kind of notice just having to stop and rotate the analog, as opposed to just being able to like progress forward normally without thinking about, you know, having to stop and turn. Like, it is definitely, you have to either make like a slow wide turn like this, or you literally have to stop on a dime if you don't have enough room to kind of do that. So I think I would personally, I hope that they would leave the lock on mechanic, because I think that that works really nicely for not it feeling just like a regular shooter, you know. Like, it feels different than that because of how the mechanics work, with just being able to quickly lock on and being able to you know, like, not have to worry about precision aim all the time. Oh, I guess we definitely need the missiles for that, so I guess I maybe went the wrong way here. But yeah, I hope that they give us the option to play with the traditional controls, the motion controls for people who prefer it that way. And then in a perfect world, you know, maybe we'll have that double analog layout for navigating and things, and just really it brought up overall to current standards of what video games are today and the improvements we've made. And you know, I couldn't be more of a fan of Metroid Prime 1 Remake making it to the Switch. I do think we'll see it. You know, we had Emily Rogers, who's a notable industry insider and leaker, who has leaked a significant amount of titles and been correct on them. Jeff Grubb backed it up. So I'm very hopeful that we will see this game indeed make it over. So, but I'm going to cut it here at this point in the video, guys. I want to hear from you on all your personal thoughts, nostalgia, and memory around the Metroid Prime series. You know, what you hope we see from it in the future going forward, whether or not you think maybe Prime Trilogy HD is still a possibility and that's the title that we'll get on the Switch, or whether or not you think that indeed Prime 1 Remake is what we can expect, or if you're somebody that doesn't think we're getting the Prime games at all on the Nintendo Switch. I want to hear all your thoughts and opinions on what we talked about today, and definitely share with me some of your best memories from Metroid Prime if you did get a chance to play it, or if you're a fan of Metroid from other games in the series, then share with me how excited you are to play these on the Nintendo Switch if we do see them make it over. So I do appreciate you guys sticking around till the end of the video, and definitely look forward to hearing from you in the comments down below, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.